So Valentine's Day is this Saturday, and it comes with a surprising reality check. For many young adults, dating isn't just difficult, it's declining. Like, how many young adults are bringing roses to someone on Saturday or writing a card? Or is it happening over the phone or not happening at all? New data shows rising burnout from dating apps, especially among Gen Z, who report some of the highest levels of fatigue. A new report is calling 2026 a dating recession, with fewer dates, fewer relationships, and a growing frustration with swipe culture. This, I worry, is a generational crisis in the making. Let's bring in editor at Forbes Women, Maggie McGrath, and MS Now contributor Huma Abedin. She's vice chair of the Forbes and Know Your Value 3050 Summit, which is just weeks away. More on that in a moment. I think we have a few more guests to announce. But Maggie, you've been following these dating trends with your work at Forbes. What have you found?
Well, I'd first note, you say it might be a crisis, but I've spoken to a number of women who anecdotally say they're not dating and they've gained time and peace by not doing so. That's the anecdotes. The data tells this story in some big numbers. Forbes Health did a survey last year that found that a majority of people who are on the dating apps do want long-term connection. The numbers are roughly the same across generations, about 50% overall, 52% Gen Z, and a little less than half of millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers say the same thing. Yet, either despite these goals or perhaps because of them, rates of dating app burnout are very high. 78% of all respondents in this survey say they feel exhausted by the dating apps. Millennials are reporting the highest levels of burnout, and so are women. We're seeing about 80% of women saying they're exhausted by what it takes to be on these apps, compared with 74% of men. This is manifesting in fewer dates overall. The conservative-leaning Institute for Family Studies released that report that you mentioned, showing that only a quarter of women are actively dating, which they define as one or more dates per month. And that compares to 36% of men. And then we're also seeing a divergence in men and women's desire for a relationship at all. So there are some really interesting trends at play here, and I think a lot of factors go into them, Mika.
Wow. So, Huma, only about 3 in 10 young adults say they are dating at all, as we just heard. What is this about?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. And I think it's a little deeper than some of the numbers that we see, that half the young people find that they're dating online. And the specifics show that 40% of people who are on these apps feel that they fail to find a good connection with somebody. It's often you're disappointed, you feel ghosted, you have a fear of rejection, the messaging, multiple people. I mean, all of these are at 40%, 35%, 27% of people are worried about being rejected, and 21% of people say that the time spent on dating apps just takes all the pressure off of just pursuing the relationship and just trying to find somebody. And also dating, juggling these multiple dating apps. But I think the core, Maggie and I have actually talked about this a lot in the last 2 days. The core takeaway is young people are looking for emotional connections. They're looking for stable relationships. Doesn't necessarily always have to be in the intimate partner space, but ultimately that is what they are looking for. And when you are on these apps, it's hard to find those connections, and as a result, they're going on less dates. By the way, dates that cost money, these apps cost money. It's expensive to date. And so ultimately, if you want to be in a secure relationship, there's a book that came out yesterday that two psychotherapists wrote about the secret to happiness. And their assessment as a secret to happiness is feeling loved. And I think that sums up the situation that we're in. How do young people feel love? And it remains to be seen that that's going to be an easy task.
You know, Morning Joe's Britt Miller is actually doing a lengthy piece on this and the whole dating situation out there. And in Know Your Value, I'm always urging women, young women, any age, to work hard to find that relationship if that is what you want, because just like your job, or even way more than your job, it's probably the most important decision you make in your life to find a partner. But it does seem like a very tough landscape, which is why we're going to cover this a lot.